Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. We're live this evening. This is February the 11th, 2015, and I just want to remind you all that Saturday is Valentine's Day, and you're going to see at the credits run to remind you that February 14th is Valentine's Day. So don't forget to get your sweetheart, whichever, whoever, mom, dad, brothers, uncles, aunts, cousins, grandparents. We have to remember the grandparents. Without the grandparents, we would not be here, and then some. That it's Valentine's Day. So flowers, candy, go out for lunch, go out for dinner. A nice card is always wonderful. And please, it's kindness that counts, because that means you're being thought of. And being thoughtful is a wonderful attribute. It's really nice. Hope everybody's well and that everybody's getting over their colds or flu or whatever you have. Just watch yourself. Be careful. Measles are abounding out there. Colds, pneumonia, flu, whatever. This is a really bad health issue. Just keep the kids healthy, and please make sure that, I inoculated all my children. Then when there was a polio epidemic, we all had to get inoculated. That was the law. That was the law. And of course, there were terrible pictures of children in iron lungs, because we in Rotary help to supply the third world countries with the polio vaccine. So once the mother is inoculated, the child is then not born with the polio virus, and then the child becomes inoculated, and so forth. It has its advantages. There are no disadvantages to being inoculated for the polio vaccine, because you see all these children from March of Dimes. That's what polio does. That is what polio does. And we don't want anybody to, unfortunately, have to suffer that type of difficulty for the rest of their life, especially on children. They want to play, they want to run, they want to dance, they want to do a lot of things. They're unable to do it. They're lucky they can breathe. That's why they need the iron lung to be encapsulated. They have to be in there so it pushes air in their lungs. They could breathe. Look it up. You'll see. It was a terrible time, a very terrible time. And a lot of children did not quite make it from that. So the inoculations are, I would agree with them that they are a good thing to do. This is modern medicine, and I think that your physicians, your pediatricians, would know what they're giving you. If they felt it was not appropriate, believe me, no one wants malpractice lawsuit or anything of that nature. So be healthy, be wise, be smart. Immunize your children. Immunize your children. Okay, this evening we have part 2 of Operation Greylord. And again, back with us, of course, is Ken Ditkowsky, attorney, and he's living proof that this happened. It's not just in the yearbooks. He can tell us exactly what's going on. But before we even get started with the second portion of the Greylord, I want to read this to you. Very important. It was from the Herald Tribune, and it was written by a guest columnist, and his name is Dr. Sam J. Sugar, and it was published yesterday, February the 10th, 2015, at 1 o'clock a.m. And here, this is, I don't know if you can see that, but that's all right. I'm just showing you that we really have the paper to prove what it is. It says, Sam J. Sugar, Reform Florida's Elder Guardianship system. In her revealing series, The Kindness of Strangers, Herald Tribune reporter Barbara Peters Smith had shed light on the dirty secrets of Florida's for-profit professional guardianship industry. In the state whose economy depends heavily on a steady influx of retirees who come here with assets, expecting to use them in their golden age, Florida has become a very dangerous place to retire. A dangerous place to retire. In addition to leading the country in Medicare fraud, insurance fraud, identity theft, tax fraud, Ponzi schemes, and human trafficking, this is Florida. Florida places retirees at risk of being targeted to be taken into the legal abyss for-profit predatory guardianship in which they lose their rights, their freedoms, family, and everything they own. They can be left with fewer rights than a convicted murderer. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Florida I'm speaking about. Their crime? Growing old in Florida. This is the truth. A family squabble over older relatives' money or decisions can open the door for predatory lawyers and professional guardians who make their very lavish livings by taking everything from those they target, usually including their very lives. We know that. The process is swift and incomprehensible and can be started by just allegations of danger to the alleged incapacitated ward. They are never investigated or proven. In a flash, a millionaire becomes a pauper. A person becomes a piece of property owned by a complete stranger, his or her professional guardian. Professional guardian. Family members who fight the process are subjected to abject, unending legal abuse and retaliation, while their loved one is chemically restrained with lethal doses of atypical antipsychotics, which turn them into half-dead zombies. All the while, the ward's money is used to persecute their own family as it enriches the abusive guardians and lawyers. It's hard to believe that this can happen in the USA. The average senior believes this can only happen to other people. These seniors might believe that they have been taken adequate steps to avoid this probate nightmare. However, sadly, there is no ironclad protection from this scourge. Not powers of attorney or advance directives, nor wills or estate planning documents. If you are targeted, none of these preparations will survive probate court. This for-profit guardianship industry is a well-oiled, clout-heavy, politically powerful, legally unsaleable juggernaut that once engaged in almost impossible to understand, let alone derail. Let's see.
It's the bottom piece here.
Oh,
this paragraph here.
Wait, did I miss something?
Do you get that?
Yeah, I got that one.
You got that?
Yeah.
There's nothing else in it.
Okay.
The rest is...
It says, for every senior who escapes this fate, there are many hundreds or even thousands who do not.
He then refers to a bill. He refers to a bill that's in the Florida legislature. But the situation is that we have the laws.
And
we don't use them. We have, see, one of the problems that we have is the fact that everyone looks to the legislature to come up with a solution. The solution's there. We have the situation where we have the Americans with Disabilities Act, Title II, which points out that the whole purpose of these guardianships and all this help we give the disabled and elderly people is aimed at creating a reasonable accommodation. The guardianship, these professional guardianships, do not create a reasonable accommodation. So they violate ADA, and ADA says that the state and these people do not have any exemption whatsoever. So where this type of situation exists, a complaint to the Justice Department at ADA
Yeah.
takes care of the problem. Now, the Justice Department, the federal government, operate very, very slowly, and that's part of the problem. And what they want to do in Florida is pass some more legislation.
What did they want to pass? It says here that although Senate Bill 318 and House Bill 5 make more than 20 meaningful changes to current guardianship law, there is a long way to go to put teeth in these laws to achieve true accountability for felonious professional guardians.
Well, but in Florida, they have some real problems. The Barbara Stone case, which we talked about
Yes.
before,
Yep.
she went in to try and save her mother, and they arrested her for interfering with the guardianship.
And she's an attorney, and didn't they put an ankle bracelet on
Yeah,
her? or
she's wearing an ankle bracelet, and she can't even get the trial on it. The whole situation is absurd. We have Glenda Martinez, who's married to Colonel Smith.
Alan Smith.
And the fact that she's the wife and has all these powers doesn't mean anything to them. They just proceed. And when you come down to this thing, the difference between this and Greylord is the fact that in Greylord we actually had some prosecutions. Here we don't have any prosecutions. In Greylord, we've obtained some type of remedy. Here we have no remedy. Law enforcement is sitting on his hands and doing absolutely nothing. And the people involved are left high and dry. I got an email the other day from one of the people who was involved in one of these guardianships. The guardianships are used for all kinds of purposes, all kinds of nefarious purposes. For one, I think it's the Wyman case.
John Wyman.
Yeah, it's his mother and father had a problem. He couldn't get a divorce. Part of it couldn't get a divorce. So what father did, he declared incompetent. They put her in a nursing home and locked her away. Well, John grabbed her and took her off in violation of all kinds of court orders to Colorado. And then she went on to do.
She painted. She was a painter. She loved to paint. Yeah.
And selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And her portraits and her pictures and her oil paintings. She had shows.
She's no more incompetent than her husband. Yet the court went along with it, and finally.
And that was out of Rockford.
Yeah.
Rockford, Illinois.
And finally, when she died, John made application to become her executor because of all these paintings, and there was some fight about it, and finally the father died. And John's coming out with another book which will explain everything that's going on. The first one, he self-published, and the man just sells some of them. And
I know we had John on the program before he even put the book out.
Yeah.
John was here.
Yeah, and in California, we have Janet Phelan. Janet Phelan's father was a name reporter for the Times, the Los Angeles Times, and she got railroaded. And she has a special needs trust. Now, a special needs trust is intended to help a person who has some
special needs.
That's
right.
And they appointed a guardian, some lady, Melody Scott, I believe.
Melody Scott.
And Janet's been fighting with Melanie Scott and found out all kinds of things about Miss Scott, which are not very flattering. And there's a big fight going on, and they frightened Janet, and she's fled the country.
For her own safety.
Yeah. No, she's scared to death of these people, and they're just taking money like there's
No trail?
No,
Tomorrow?
Now, the guardianship is supposed to be for people who can't help themselves. Children who are by law at a deficiency, people who are infirm, elderly who are infirm, but the state has to prove the need for the guardianship. They have to prove it by clear and convincing evidence. That's all has to happen is somebody goes in before some corrupt judge who signs an order creating a guardianship. In the Sykes case, they never even bothered to get jurisdiction. They never held a hearing. In your mother's case, I assume pretty much the same thing
They
happened.
just- yeah.
And in most of these cases,
They put a mentally incompetent person in charge of her that is court was court adjudicated a danger to herself and to others, but that's who they placed to take care of a 95-year-old woman.
now we have all of this proof.
Oh yeah, proof, absolutely.
And
The
in
court's
Gre-
own proof.
In Greylord, they went and they prosecuted, and they put a score of judges in jail and a couple score of lawyers in jail. Here, nothing has happened, and this is the big distinction between it. And people should know exactly what kind of effect it has. Now, this person who wrote me the email, I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Honestly, Ken, I don't know what to say. When I died in law 28 years ago, something happened to me that I can only describe as being emotionally numbing. I have no family. I've not seen my sons in 28 years. Hell, they don't even know who I am or what I'm up to. I have no long-term friends with whom I have contact or association. I am not really close to anyone. I'm at a complete loss for words. Cold as it might seem, I have the Google alerts set up for my mother so I can find out the day she dies. I have a promise to fulfill." This is what this man is going through. His situation was he had a brother, and the brother wanted to push him out of the business. So the easiest way to do it was have a guardian appointed for him. So he did. Business got sold out from under him, and there's a guardianship. And this is the way it goes. The guardianship is a means to an end. In Florida, in Illinois, in Colorado, in
California, New York,
Ohio,
big.
it's a way to enrich the corrupt judicial politicians. And I make the statement, in spite of the fact that the judge has said, I was never bribed. You don't have to bribe. In Cook County, it's known that an honest politician is one who, when you bribe, they stay bribed. And there are hundreds of ways to pass money. As we talked the last time, one of the ways was through campaign
Funds.
contributions.
Yeah, contributions.
They're tax-free to the politician. And Citizens United, and I think Ferguson or something, says that it's part of the First Amendment. But there are other ways other than that. There's dozens of ways to do it. For a long time, if you buy your insurance from the right broker, you can obtain all kinds of benefits. You hire people for no-work jobs. How many politicians' wives and children are working at jobs?
That's right, are on a payroll that don't do anything.
It's been reported that there's a major political figure whose sons got beer franchises.
I know who that is.
Yeah, everybody knows who that is. And as you run through these things, this is the way this is accomplished. Now, the real problem that exists in all these guardianship cases is we don't follow the law.
We follow the law.
Well-
They don't follow the law.
Well, we are they, unfortunately,
well-
because we have to take responsibility
We're
for...
the victims. We're the victims. I told, we spoke before, I told you, if you go through a stop sign, you get a ticket, you have to go to court, you have to pay it. I don't understand. If they break the law, they have to be held accountable.
Well, somehow,
Why is the victim always the victim? And then they want to assault the victim. Even if the victim dies, they're still being assaulted.
we have an election coming up for mayor. There's a chance to make a statement. Are people going to make the statement? Are they going to do something about some of the corruption that exists in the city of Chicago?
Well, I think someone should stand forward and say that.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're going to go to the polls, and we're going to elect the very person who is creating all kinds of problems, creating problems. We do it consistently. We don't stand up and bring forth new people to run for office. We vote for the same people. It's no accident that Illinois has the amount of corruption. It's no accident that things are so bad in this state.
People are leaving the state. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know they are leaving
And it's
by
our
droves?
fault. It's just as much your fault and my fault as it is Mike Madigan's fault, because we allowed that to occur.
Not only are businesses leaving, because there's no business here, the taxation is incredible, but individuals, residents, just ordinary people are leaving because they cannot tolerate the injustice that's being done here in Illinois.
If every one of the victims were to write a letter to the ADA and put their complaints in, they would be so swamped with mail that they'd probably have to leave the office because it'd be full from floor to ceiling with mail. You know the number of people that are victimized in these guardianship cases? The numbers are enormous.
Of course they are. They're phenomenal.
And most people sit and they take it.
Well, not really. They don't sit and they don't really take it. They do complain about it, but the complaints fall on deaf ears. They fall on professional judges that turn a deaf ear to the reality of what they're doing.
Well, you got to go above it. If the judicial system is corrupt, you have to go beyond the judicial system.
But that's where our laws are supposed to be adjudicated from.
The problem is we do have a Justice Department. We do have a state's attorney. We do have law enforcement. We've got to go to the law enforcement. We've got to go en masse and say laws are being violated. They're being violated every single day. They're worried about criminals robbing grocery stores. They're pikers.
Sure.
$1.5 million taken out of your mother's estate.
Yep.
Almost $2 million out of Sykes' case.
Yep.
$8 million out of Tyler case. A couple $1 million out of Stone in Florida.
Yep.
And every
Barbara
one of these
Stone.
cases, there are millions and millions of dollars that are being stolen.
Sure.
And it's the job of the Justice Department to enforce Title II of Americans with Disabilities Act. And the problem is if you don't notify them, you don't tell them what's going on, they're not going to know. There's a conference on aging that
I contacted the Florida Attorney General maybe 5 years ago and sent information, a boatload of information. Nothing got done. They said
he couldn't have cared less.
Yeah,
because he's part of the problem.
They said they couldn't find it.
And this is a thing that's going on in the state of Illinois. You're right, Lisa Madigan. You don't get a response.
You will or you won't?
You won't.
And so where do you go?
So you have to go to the federal government. You have to go to the federal government because that's the only place that they seem to be interested. There was some lady who was appointed by the state's attorney to look into these things. We heard from her once,
And
she's gone.
what do you mean she's gone?
She's gone.
Gone where?
Who the hell knows?
Gone, disappeared, gone? Or just not?
She's no longer handling the case, no longer worried about it. She attended one of the Sykes hearings,
And
and that was the last anybody saw of her.
was she a writer, a journalist?
No, she's an attorney.
An attorney.
Supposed to investigate the Sykes case.
And
Nothing happened.
this is
But hopefully,
so somebody got to her, frightened her.
it could be.
Well, look what happened with you. Look what they did.
Yeah.
And look what they're trying to do to Joanne Dennison.
Yeah.
And Mr. Amu, look what they did to him.
Exactly. But we're flotsam. The victims have to get together, and they have to come forth, and they have to put pressure upon the Justice Department to bring criminal indictments against these people. There is no immunity for the things they're doing. And if we as citizens don't protect our core values, we won't have our core values. It's as simple a thing as that.
I just want to finish this up with Dr. Sugar because he makes he says these are felonious professional guardians. They are. But it says, this is because he's in Florida. And he said, we urge all Floridians to contact their elected representatives to voice their support for immediate, comprehensive guardianship reform and to arm themselves with knowledge and information that can be found on our website. And so Dr. Sugar's website, it's called Americans Against Abusive Probate Guardianship, and it's based in Ventura, Florida. And the website is, let me just give you the website, it's www.aapg.net. www.aapg.net. And it's Dr. Sam J. Sugar, Sugar, he's the founder of Americans Against Abusive Probate Guardianship, and it's based in Ventura in Florida. And you can look on the internet and find that, but this was out of the Herald Tribune out of Florida, and published yesterday, February the 10th, 2015.
The same thing goes true here. We have Joan Dennison's website, which is
she's blogging, sure,
and she's blogging
Yeah.
and she's writing constantly. But the writing has to be directed. It has to be directed all the way through. I was looking at some of the Senate. There's a Senate Committee on Aging.
Oh yeah, they're going to have
that was going on, and I think it was a senator from Maine who was saying that they need more data. They don't need more data. They have
plenty.
They have the data. The Government Accounting Office has had several reports pointing out exactly the same thing Dr. Sugar points out. This very same thing you and I have been talking about here, and it's falling on deaf ears because they have an excuse.
What's the excuse?
The excuse is we need more data. We just can't go out
and
indict people.
I've heard enough about the data, and I've heard enough about their excuses. And every time you need to have something done, these tricky politicians, it's like, would you want to? Who do you trust the most? A used car salesman or a politician? Come on, give me a break here.
Used car salesman.
I mean, he'll tell you something.
By a wide margin.
But they always say, well, we don't have room in the budget, or we have to look for a budget. Anybody that gives you that garbage is garbage.
You know, the amount of money that's here One of the ways of dealing with this thing, if government really wants to do something about it, is tax it. If I breach a fiduciary relationship, I create a taxable event. In other words, when the famous case that I always look at is, I think it's called United States versus Kaiser, involved a union official who went out to buy a car. And he gets to the dealership and he finds he doesn't have his checkbook. So he takes the union checkbook and he writes a check for the car.
On the union
On the union checkbook.
checkbook.
The very next morning,
Yeah.
24 hours even haven't passed, he gets back to the union and he writes a check to the union for the price of the car.
A personal check.
Personal check. It clears, there's no question about
Okay.
it. In an audit, the IRS says to him, you breached a fiduciary relationship. You owe the taxes. He says, I paid it back. Well, that's fine, sir. I'm glad you did that. Did you report your theft? He says, I didn't steal. He says, yes, you did. You breached a fiduciary relationship when you took the union money and bought that car. Now, if you want a deduction during the proper period of time, you can then deduct the fact that you paid it back. If you didn't do it, you owe the tax. And it went to the, I believe it was 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, and he said that's exactly right. Well, we got the same thing here. When the Guardian broke into Mary Sykes's box and took that money out, she incurred $1 million of taxable income because she took control over that money. She had no right to do it. Now, how do we say she had control? Well, she never inventoried it.
No.
And those who were working in concert with her, one of the guardian ad litem denied she took it. She wasn't there. The guardian ad litem had to admit, by the way, she wasn't there. She didn't know it was taken. But that's taxable money. Now we have a fraud penalty for not reporting it. That's 50%. We have interest, 5% a month for, I thought it was 6 months, I'm told by the accountant, it's 9 months. Whatever. It's a lot of money.
And it's gone.
And it's gone. Now this occurred in 2009.
This is 15 already.
That's exactly right. And the interest is running. Why isn't the IRS collecting this money?
Why?
I have no idea. I've sent letters about it, so as other people, so have family members in the Sykes case. Now, there's one other thing here. Conspirators, if you and I enter into a conspiracy to do something wrong, we have joint and several liability. Now, we have other people involved. We have the guardian ad litem who denied it occurred without knowing whether it occurred or not. We have Mr. Larkin, who's trying to avoid an honest, complete, and comprehensive investigation of this matter. We have all these people acting in concert. They should have liability. They should have tax liability also.
That's all collusion, a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. Now, the state of Illinois also has a right to this money. Why aren't they collecting it? I realize that 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9% tax to the state politicians is de minimis, but it's not. How much is 5% of $1 million? It's a lot of money. It goes a long way towards curing the budget problems that our governor's complaining about.
But it goes to a longer way when somebody else is dipping in their pocket and putting it into the other pocket. It goes from one pocket to the other pocket.
Well, I think these people with the clout ought to pay to play. They've already taken the pay. Now let them pay for it.
Well, even with Dr. Sugar, when he says to contact with state legislators, contact your representatives, that doesn't do any good. They're corrupt. You're dealing with a system that's corrupt. You're dealing with politicians that are corrupt.
They're getting money from it. You think Mr. Larkin is assaulting the Constitution and assaulting my rights and
Of course he
Joanne's
is,
rights?
absolutely.
You think he's doing it out of the goodness of his heart or because he believes what he's doing? I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday, and nobody else did. He's getting something out of it.
Sure
Do you
he is.
think when a man gives $1 million to a political candidate, he's doing it because he wants that political candidate to win because of altruistic reasons?
He's looking for some kind of free lunch. He wants something.
He wants something.
Yeah, he wants
and
something.
every one of these contributions is the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, these are taxable events. Let me give you another taxable event that occurs, and this occurred in the Sykes case. Mary Sykes owned a piece of property on I think it's Avondale Avenue.
Yep.
Okay.
That's Chicago.
There was an appraisal was worth about $700 and some thousand. In walks the guardian along with her attorneys and the guardian ad litem, and they tell the judge, we can't sell the property and we need the money. What about the $1 million they took out of the safety deposit box? What about the money in the mattress?
Well, that's not being reported, so that's not.
That's not inventory.
That's not inventoried.
Inventoried, but they can't hide the house. Okay, they're going to sell the house. We'll get an appraisal. Well, an appraisal is somebody's opinion of what the property's worth. And in this county, you can get appraisal for anything you want.
That's Cook County.
Mm-hmm. So they get an appraisal.
All right.
Okay, but we had an appraisal for $700,000, and it's not a unreasonable house that size with a lot that size. I think it's got 200 and some front feet, and it runs back. It's a double lot.
It's a two-story.
Yeah. So it's got real development possibility, especially in a nice area. Well, they fool around and finally.
Wait, we need to tell the viewers whose area that's in. That's in Dick Mel's.
Well, Dick Mel's.
He's
Some
the
relative
alderman.
or somebody in there made arrangements for the sale and earned a sale.
That's his area. Okay.
So now they can't sell the house at the appraised value, so they come to the court. Judge, we can't get rid of this thing. We have depression. We have recession. We've got halitosis. We've got all kinds of problems.
Their toes are growing backwards.
Yeah, so
all right.
So it's got to be sold, and this judge will sign any order, and does, because this is the judge who chained Gloria to a chair to extract from her where she kept her money. So this judge agrees to a sale of $200,000. Okay. That money, of course, didn't go to Mary. It went to pay attorney's fees, etc. After stealing all this money is very expensive and very time-consuming.
It's a giveaway. It's a giveaway.
So they took the money out. The sale occurred to someone who is a nominee.
Who then resells it.
Yeah. This is done all the time. This is an easy way to make a few dollars. So it's sold to a nominee. The nominee sits there a while.
It's more than a few dollars, kid.
Yeah. Well, now this property is still worth it. They still have $500,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the $500,000 sitting out there, they'll run it through a series of mean sales. The mean sale, the first sale, they'll run it through maybe for $200,000.
This is all like money laundering. This is
That's
all
exactly
money
what it
laundering.
is. Now, they'll take that money and they'll sell it. For instance, let's assume that I stole it, that I was the buyer. I sell it to you for $200,000. You turn around and sell it to Judy
Yeah.
for $500,000.
Yeah.
Judy turns around and sells it to John Doe for $650,000. John Doe happens to be a nominee for me. Okay.
It's right back where it started from.
Now, I've got a tax base of $650,000 on the record.
Yeah.
Because of the other sales, anyone looks at it says, first sale, same amount. It appreciated substantially afterwards. Now I go into a development with a developer. We tear down the house because that house is a tear down by this time. And we put up a condo, we put up a $1 million house, and we claim a capital gain. Well, it's not a capital gain. None of these are capital gains. When I stole that money, it was ordinary income. And when I go through the ordinary sale, it's still ordinary income because it's a breach of fiduciary relationship. And if the government would enforce that, the game is over.
How far do they have to go back? I don't they need
They go
paperwork.
back. They go back 3-4 sales.
Okay.
They usually run these sales through on a regular basis.
But these are private sales. They don't go through real
The first
estate
one
houses.
is not. The first one is usually a judicially authorized sale.
Yeah.
And the others are all private sales, but they're all phony sales. And you can tell they're phony. You can tell they're phony sales because of the fact
The worth of the house.
the same
Consideration.
people are involved in it.
Now, with Greylord, what were they selling other than their own?
In Greylord, it was more traditional bribery.
Put it in a paper bag, or you give it to them in a
Yeah,
newspaper, put it on the desk?
You hire the judge's wife as your executive secretary. She doesn't have to appear and do any
anything,
work,
yeah.
but she gets a salary. Or you hire the daughter.
Yeah.
Or you pay the college expense. Or the judge goes out and borrows from the bank, say $50,000. And mysteriously, an anonymous
Donor?
individual
Oh, yeah.
pays it off.
Anonymous. Yeah.
Or you have the situation where I want to bribe you to be on this show, so I go and I buy the lot next to your house, and I offer you for sale at a discount. Maybe it's a 50% discount, maybe it's a 75% discount. And that's another way of bribing. There's some politician is going to jail for doing exactly that. I read it in the paper yesterday. I don't remember what, it's an Illinois politician also.
Oh.
But this is a common,
They're going to have to take numbers and stand in line because the jails are full of Illinois politicians going to jail for corruption.
but it's part of a scenario. There was, about the time of the Greylord, I didn't see anybody involved in this, but I understood that a auto dealer was furnishing cars for certain judges. And the judge would find he had the use of a Cadillac free. And of course, he knew who was giving it to him,
Sure.
so he could provide favorable treatment.
Yeah.
And no money passed.
It's for gifts and favors untold. So.
I'm told. There's another way of doing it also, and that is there are always transactions going on. And the judge is given, or the politician is given, a tip on a particular stock. And he buys the stock. One of the ones that I know was involved was a company out of Philadelphia. They bought land in something Prussia shopping center. There's a big shopping center near Philadelphia.
Oh, New Prussia, I know where that is.
And they also had some land along the Beltway in Washington. And that stock went up rather dramatically. And certain politicians got an opportunity
to buy it too.
Yeah, I bought some of that stock too. But
it was a good lead. It was a good lead.
I found out afterwards that it was that other people had been involved in it and they had been given an opportunity to buy. But this is another way of doing it. There's always transactions that are going on, and the opportunity.
So where is the legitimacy of the legal arena to do right by a situation that is terribly wrong and has victimized the innocent?
Well,
what has happened to
what's
that?
happened, our only hope is that law enforcement will enforce the law. What can you do if law enforcement says, I'm not going to enforce the law? If you look at Russia after World War II, it had a constitution, and it had terrific laws, but no one bothered with them. In Nazi Germany, there were laws. No one bothered with the laws. Every totalitarian state has laws. No one bothers with them. We have now gotten to the situation where law means nothing. And everything is for show. Today they're talking about these children that were in a Little League.
Oh, yes. Jackie Robinson, Little League, right.
And who are they punishing? The kids.
The kids, yeah. The politicians aren't getting
the people who did all this.
Yeah, they put those kids in there.
They put the kids in there. Now they ought to be barred forever from having anything to do with Little League.
Yeah, Little League, yeah.
And if you look at it, if you look at this whole situation involving it, the fact that the kids are being punished
That's terrible.
for something the adults did.
The adults, yeah.
Is lost. It's part of this business of right is wrong, wrong is right, left is right, right is left. We've lost all of it. And then the fact is here, this is Little League.
The kids were just playing the game.
What in heaven's name are these children being made such a fuss over?
Yeah.
This is Little League. They're babies.
Maybe they're just
They're supposed to be having fun.
That's right.
This is not a life and death situation. It's not a career builder.
Well, they evidently are using the children, just like they use the senior citizens with elder cleansing. This is what the politicians and the big guys with
source of money. They're a source of money. The thing that always been in my craw from day one is the fact that I wrote Senator Durbin a letter about it, and I got back a speech that he put on Social Security. Did
you ever call him on that? I mean,
not worth it.
Not really.
It's not worth it. Not interested. Nobody is interested, and that's our fault. Again, it's our fault.
No, he's been in office.
He got reelected. He got reelected
30 years.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to do that. You stay your timeline. There's got to be time limits. These people make a career out of
People are more interested
in stealing money.
Well, they're more interested in whether or not
killing their constituents.
A 10-year-old has been wrongfully placed in a Little League team than they are a senior citizen losing our liberty rights,
The rights,
our
yeah.
property rights,
Yeah.
and the core values of America
Yeah.
destroyed.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
It happened. We live in North Korea.
Oh,
At least in Illinois, we belong in North Korea. Because if you wind up in this system, in this
Yeah.
guardianship system, without any due process, without any jurisdiction,
due
like Mary
process.
Sykes,
There is
you're
no
gone.
due process in probate. No due process.
Now, people don't understand due process, by the way. Due process it's supposed to guarantee a right to a fair trial on a level playing field. It doesn't. Due process merely means, and I think it's a Choate versus City of Detroit case, it says that due process means notice and a hearing at which you have a right to be heard. Nobody cares whether or not that tribunal is a kangaroo court.
It is a kangaroo court.
Well, this is part of the problem. We have to get back to the idea that due process requires an honest judiciary. And one of the problems is I think it was John Cass who had an article, and he mentioned how you become a judge in Cook County.
Oh, I think, what is it, $50,000 now or something?
$50,000 in cash.
Yeah.
Left for the ward committeemen.
Yeah.
What kind of justice are you going to get from a person who's willing to pay $50,000 for a job as a judge? Why would he pay $50,000?
This is heartbreaking. Well, why would you pay for it? Because whatever wrong that this person is going to be doing in the future, they're going to either...
It's an investment.
It's right. They're going to get off. You're going to have a cushioned ride, that's all.
How much is it going to cost Rob Emanuel to become the mayor of the city of Chicago?
I don't
for a
know.
second
How much
term?
money did he give? I mean, you got to have
Have you
people...
seen the number of ads he's got?
No, I have not. We're Lake County here,
It doesn't
so
matter.
we're not
it
seeing
doesn't
anything.
matter. They're
so.
coming all over. They're coming over. The point is, how do you justify spending so much money, millions of dollars,
Just for
to
a
be
mayorship.
a representative,
Yeah.
to be a congressman,
Yeah.
to be a senator? How does this occur? This is one of the arguments that's used in the Citizens United case. It formulates corruption. Why would anyone spend $500 million to get elected to a public office? Why would someone spend
And a public office, this isn't private because it's for profit. It is supposed to be a non-for-profit, but it's profitable to fill your pockets full of stolen goods and merchandise.
This is not supposed to.
And well, of course, it's not supposed to. But I will tell you, when you made the comment before about that they kept saying that they need more information. Please send more information. We sent to, it was congressman at that time. We had Mark Kirk on the program. We built him up. We thought he was the cat's meow. He was going to do so much for so many people. And now he was senator, and he's disabled himself. I don't even know if he is planning to run, but he's...
He could very well be a victim.
Well,
he's had a stroke.
Okay, he could be a victim, but I have to tell you, in the 7 years that my mother was, incarcerated, actually in prison, incarcerated in Cook County, in that nursing home, we sent him information. I could fill volumes of an encyclopedia. I could put my own book out. I'll publish it. He did nothing.
Do you realize that?
And she died. She was murdered.
You realize that nursing home furnishes, there's 300 and some people in that nursing home, and 300 and some votes come for the dominant political party every election.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Well, specifically...
And whose fault is that?
Well, listen, I made a stink. I told the people, I complained my mother wasn't getting care, this, that, or whatever. They don't care because if you put somebody in the right position who doesn't belong there and you pay for them to be there, then you'll get whatever you need to be taken care of. But the patient, the client, the victim gets nothing, gets no care, and dies.
Did you write the Americans with Disability Act people about your mother?
I called, we wrote, I contacted Lisa Madigan.
Lisa Madigan State.
And I know, but then I said, for Medicare, and I said what they did is they said that they sent me a bill for, I don't know how many thousands of dollars, because they took 7 chest x-rays. I don't even know if they did that.
They
7.
Didn't.
For 7.
Your mother's physical therapy was they put her in a wheelchair and wheeled her out in the hall. That's $400 an hour.
Well,
the doctor slowed down to 30 miles an hour. That was his visit. To visit your mother and 50 other people.
They charge $750 per x-ray, and they took 7 x-rays, and we have them on tape recording. We asked if we could listen, tape record their, the meeting. We had an open meeting. I said, if this is an open meeting, is this okay? We put the thing in front, and they all talked into it. We had Mr. White. Mr. White was my mother's not physical therapist, was her entertainment. What entertainment? She was bedridden. She can't do anything. But he was a party to it. He was there. We could name all these names. I got everybody's names. We've got, the voice, everything. And
when we complained about this to the attorney registration,
to everything.
They said there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
This is ethical behavior.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, and it was the pavilion, which I'm sad that it had the name of a very pious person on there, the William Barr Pavilion, because he was a potentate, Shriner, and Masonic Lodge. And it was terrible. It was terrible.
The whole thing is terrible. And this is the difference between Greylord. Greylord is a finished investigation, but it's not really finished because we have Silver Shovel, Incubator, Lantern, Operation Gaymont, Safe Bet.
Yeah.
You have all these operations that have followed Greylord. It's a continuing situation. And this particular situation, elder cleansing, is another part of Greylord. The only difference is that we've graduated to a more sophisticated type.
Way to murder senior citizens. I want to tell our viewers, you can find this on YouTube. Please go to my YouTube. There it goes, youtube.com/North Shore Live CC, or contact me at my email, bev.cooperscorner@yahoo.com. Tell us your stories. You can sit here and we can talk about your problem. If you want to be heard, if you want the court systems to listen to you, we'll give you a DVD. We'll give you 100 of them. Pass them out to everybody. People have got to hear and know what's going on.
And send it on to the Justice Department.
That's right.
So they know about your situation.
That's right. So we want to thank you for allowing us in your home, your place of business. This was Operation Greylord Part 2. We want to let you know that Saturday is February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. Please do something for your sweetheart that you love, and contact me. We're happy to do for you as much as we can, and we'll put you on the air. We're located here in Highland Park, Illinois. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week on North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner.